Alrighty, we are live. And if you're watching, let me know if you can hear me, because that is the most important part, not just seeing me, but hearing me. Welcome back to this new mini series, which I'm calling Your Hero Story, where I talk to coaches, online service providers, and other onlinepreneurs, people like you and like me, who have suffered some kind of unexpected life event, overcame it against all odds, managed to keep their business running, and how they recovered and came out at the other end of it, stronger, wiser, more resilient, and more determined than ever. So I'm Miriam Valentin. I am a digital systems and processes strategist, and I help online business owners to structure and automate their business processes by offering support and guidance on the tools and technologies that will allow them to thrive in today's economy. I have made it my mission to inform and educate online business owners about the importance of having a business backup plan in place in case they are unable to work for a longer period of time, so that they can protect their business and ensure its continuity. And that is the purpose of this mini series, to bring you the hero story of online business owners and how they overcame the obstacles and kept their business running despite all odds. But before I introduce my guest for today, let me know if you are watching live. Type hashtag live in the chat. I'm just looking here because I have my smartphone there. So just to check if there are any messages. Feel free to say hi, ask your questions. And if you're watching this on replay, type hashtag replay in the comments so that we can engage with you later. And also let us know where you're watching from, because we'd love to know where you're from and how far our message travels. So today's guest is a certified life and business coach who helps network marketers and direct sales reps learn how to use Facebook to get more leads and sales faster while staying out of Facebook jail. And if you've never heard the term, she will explain exactly what that is, because she's kind of an expert in that. So she also helps them to attract their perfect prospects to them while breaking through the blocks that hold them back from growing their business through mindset shifts, building their skills of attraction marketing. So due to personal experiences in 2015, Coach MJ, as we like to call her, decided to focus on learning how to use Facebook, crack the algorithm, which is constantly changing. We all know that. So she could help other Facebook users get positive results. It is her goal to help 1,000 entrepreneurs feel confident and in control while using Facebook. So we're going to ask her how, what the number status is as of today. And also, she became certified in life and business coaching in December of 2019. I should know because I was one of her first ones. She graduated from Eben Pagan's virtual coaching program in March 22. So that's a couple of months ago. And she has a toolbox full of coaching tools that help with mindset and blocks that tend to hold people back from becoming the best entrepreneur for themselves, family, and business. So today, she will tell us her hero story about how she set out to go mobile in May 21 in her brand new shiny RV, but I think it was a 5 vertebrae compression fracture canceled her beautiful plans and put her business on hold. And she will also tell us how she managed to deal with the pressure and and how she navigated the healthcare system, which I think most of you know, it's at least in the US and maybe also other countries, is an inferno. And she will also tell us how she managed to come up with new ideas for her coaching business. This part I'm very excited about, so stay tuned. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome my life and business coach and dear friend, Martin Christensen, aka Coach MJ. Here we go. Hey! Welcome, MJ. Let me know if I can say something, see if we can hear you.
Hey, Miriam, good to
Oh,
be
great.
here. Thank you for that warm introduction. That was incredible. Wow, I didn't know I was that awesome.
Yes, you are. I mean, hello. You kind of created me, you know that? So you have to
Oh,
be
well,
up.
thank you for that. Yeah, I know. You've come a long way, that's
I
for
have,
sure.
haven't I?
Yeah,
We both have.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, let's start with that. So anyway, I just want to say thank you so much for being here in my new show. I know you are extremely busy with setting up and launching your new offers. So I'm very excited to learn more about that. But first, tell us how and why you decided to get certified as a life and business coach, and just for people to get to know you a little bit better.
Well, Miriam, how much time do we have?
Make it five.
Okay.
No, no, just tell us the most important things. What made you you? How did you get to this point in time?
Yeah, well, you kind of hit it, earlier, 2015, when I joined a network marketing company and was building my business online. And the company that I joined, actually, their business plan was using Facebook groups to build their business, that their representatives were taught how to use Facebook groups to have, it was a home party or a party company. And, but they didn't promote in-home parties. They promoted the online life, I think they were really foreshadowing the 2020 pandemic, because they pushed using social media, which was Facebook, to build for us to build our business. And it was moving along quite well, and then every once in a while I would see these notifications from some of the representatives in the company saying, "Well, I'm in Facebook jail. You won't be hearing from me for a while." And I'm going, "Whoa, what's this Facebook jail thing?" And I'd be moving along. And then one day I was doing something and this message pops up: "You need to stop what you're doing right now." And I go, "Okay, I don't know what it was I was doing," but I stopped doing it and then came back later and continued on with whatever it is I was doing. But I could see that whatever this Facebook jail was, it was interrupting the momentum of these representatives that were working so hard to build their business. So I thought, I need to know a little bit more about that. So I actually connected with some social media experts, Facebook experts, who teach Facebook, use Facebook to build their business organically. And I thought, well, this looks cool. I'd like to do that. I want to teach people how to use their business organically. And then I started paying attention to the activities, to what I was doing, and looking at tracking the results, tracking the engagement, tracking the connections between people, and finally came to the realization that these network marketers, direct sales reps, they need help. They need to be exposed to, you need to stop what you're doing, because if you don't, you're going to end up in Facebook jail. Because I would see this happening to other people that I hadn't even been connected with. So that's where I started making that commitment to me, if nobody else, to learn more about this Facebook jail thing and this algorithm that everybody moans and groans and complains about, and how to actually use the platform, crack that algorithm so that I could get more leads faster, more sales for myself. And it was working. So I thought, well, why not teach it to other people? And I know right now Facebook's algorithm is changing quickly. And if you aren't paying attention to what's happening, you're not even going to have a clue that whatever you're doing is not working. So don't
Absolutely.
keep doing the same thing over and over and get the same results. You've got to change what you're doing. And
That's
That's kind of how I got to where I am right now with choosing to become a coach.
okay. Yeah, that's a very important subject you brought up. You know, the one with the Facebook jail. Because I've known two onlinepreneurs in my immediate circle who got banned from their own Facebook group. And
Oh yeah.
how does that happen? Do you have an answer for that?
Yes, I do. I do have an answer.
You want to share it with us?
And of course you knew I would.
Okay.
um 2021, 2022, well 2021 I think was Facebook started changing things again on their platform. I think to adjust for the pandemic and more people being online. And I don't know if people understand this, but I think some people think that there's somebody sitting at a computer somewhere up there on Facebook land in California watching what you're doing and seeing what you're doing and saying, no, 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 you can't do that and hit this red button and stop you from doing it. No, that's not what happens. It's actually robots that run up and down the website itself that are programmed for specific actions. So if you're technical at all in any way, shape, or fashion, when you're doing stuff on the internet, you've got content going out. And if this specific piece of content that you're doing is the same thing and it's like this, I always say, if what you're doing is like this, in other words, people that have a group, and I know I don't want to share any names, but I know this one man that you're familiar with was doing Facebook Live every day for a whole year. And he has a master class. And I jumped on his master class. I caught it in replay. And of course, when we are on a live Facebook Live master class or whatever, you've got someone maybe doing a presentation and they're asking questions and they'll, say, put your comment below or whatever. And you do that. And this was a replay. And I was responding to his questions. So picture this. I'm the only one on it because I'm watching the replay. And you can see my comment, and then he'll say something, and then I'll comment, and then he'll say something, and I'll comment. Well, it's really good for you to go back into the replays of whatever you're doing and respond to the comments. It's also good when you get off your Facebook Live to go in to the comments from those that did show up live and engage with them. But he was engaging with every single comment. So you've got this motion. And when I was looking at the timeline, it was like 1 minute, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. And so I sent him a private message. I said, you might want to stop doing that because if you continue to do that, you're going to get blocked from your Facebook group by Facebook because it's an action of a spammer when you have that repetitive action of doing the same thing over and over and over again with very little time in between that action step. Yeah, engage with the responses to your Facebook Live or whatever it is that you've done, but don't respond to every single one at the same time. Go in and respond to 2 or 3 different people's comments. Come back later and go in and respond to 2 or 3 people again. You can respond to this person, but not all at the same time because that changes the algorithm for you even in your group. It pushes your content up even in your group with the algorithm so that people that are members of your group will see responded to so and so's question or responded to this comment or whatever. You get notifications and those notifications are going out. And if those notifications are going out like this, that's the trigger that hits that algorithm that says, oh, there's a spammer in this group. We got to stop them.
Okay.
And it'll
Well,
happen on your profile. It'll happen in your wherever you're at on Facebook.
okay, well, see, something I've learned because I've heard that you have to do that, to get engagement and to get interaction and everything. But it makes sense to just, interact or comment to 3 or 4 comments and then come back, I don't know, half an hour, 1 hour later and comment again instead of doing everything, liking all comments. Because I used to do that. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have that many comments yet, but that's good to know,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. But the other thing is just hitting that like button, that emoji.
Yeah.
Facebook doesn't really consider that engagement because That's again another repetitive thing that spammers will do. They'll go in and they'll just like. There's
Yes.
no thought to it. There's no intention to it. It's pretty clear to Facebook that it's just somebody trying to get attention, somebody trying to crack the algorithm. So you have to be intentional. So
Mhm.
that's why you want to, like for me, I'll put a post up on my profile, and like I put one up the other day about I was going to the doctor today, and I got several comments. If you can come back, if it's on your profile, come back 20 minutes after you post, and if someone has responded, yeah, engage with it. Give them a smiley face or a wow or a care, but don't do the thumbs up, because that to Facebook is saying you're not really interested in what they have to say. And then respond in with a comment. Thank you so much for your prayers, or thank you so much for whatever. Just give them a few words of a response in the comment. And then I'd
Mhm.
come back later again, and I have 5 or 6 more, and I go and I pick maybe 2 of them and
Okay.
respond to them. And I would have that particular piece on my profile for the whole day, getting engagement,
Yeah, that's
because
awesome.
every time I responded, it got pushed back out again.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
And then
it
if you,
pushes the post back up, right?
it does, but no, not just that, it actually notifies people, my friends, and the friends of the people that responded, that there's activity going on my profile.
And that the content is relevant, right?
Exactly. And
Okay.
new people would show up, people that I'm not even connected to, and respond on it. So
Okay.
then I can
Yeah.
go and see, okay, I don't think I know this person. I'll check their profile. No, we're not friends. So I would be very kind, and respond to them, and then maybe go to their profile and spend a little time engaging on content that I enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
that's creating that connection and pushes the algorithm out further, even further, even further. So, and I see so many entrepreneurs, well, I just want to get this done today. So they'll put up a post, and 2 minutes later, they'll put up another post, and they'll put up on their personal profile. It's like, why are you doing that? You're just fighting yourself. Number one, maybe that first post would get pushed out, but then you got another one up there, and Facebook's going, well, I don't know what this person's doing, but obviously nobody's interested in what she's got. So nothing goes out. You don't even know that. You're just
Yeah.
wasting your time. So you
Yeah.
only have to purposefully post on your profile 1 time a day if you're a business owner. You do not
Okay.
have to do it 10, 12, 15 times a day. You
I
do it
like that
1
approach.
time. You
I
only
like
have
that
to do it
approach.
1 time. Now, if that 1 time you post, and maybe you post in the morning, and later on in the day you go back and there's really no engagement, well, maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe there's something wrong with the content. So
Mhm.
do something else with a different topic or different subject matter or a different message, and see if you get any action. If you
Okay.
still don't get any action, and you try it again maybe 6 hours later, and you still don't get any action, well, there could be something wrong with your copy. There could be something wrong with your message. So then the
Yeah.
next day, try something else outside of that specific topic until you get something that people are engaging with. You go, okay, that's what they're looking for. That's what they're interested in. And you can provide more of that. But don't keep doing the same thing over and over and get the same result, because you're just wasting your time.
Absolutely. And that is so valuable advice. Thank you, MJ. And for anybody watching, I mean, it's obvious that MJ is very knowledgeable in Facebook and Facebook algorithms. So thank you for those pieces of advice. I especially like that posting 1 time a day because we hear everywhere you have to post several times a day. I was like, how can where do you find the time to post several times a day? And speaking of audience, let's quickly acknowledge Perry. Perry's watching live, so hi Perry. Thanks for tuning in, and feel free to let us know where you're watching from. And yeah, very valuable advice. Oh God, you can tell English is not my first language, but there we
That's
go.
fine. We love you
Oh,
anyway.
thank you. With all my imperfections, right?
Well, yeah, your perfect imperfections.
So, okay, MJ, let's get to the purpose of this little mini show. So,
Yeah, I'm
I've
sorry. I
already
just get I just
no,
get I
that's
just get
fine.
really,
That's
really
good to
excited
know. I
about,
mean,
getting the message out about the proper way to use Facebook, because there's so much value on Facebook
no, I
that
love
people are
it.
missing out on, because they just don't even have a clue about what they're doing and
Yeah,
who's
and
teaching them. I don't know who's teaching them, but whoever's teaching them, they're listening to the wrong people.
and it's important to you to get out that message, so that it's perfectly fine. And for anybody watching now live or on the replay, give us a thumbs up or a heart if you found that little lesson on Facebook valuable. So, but we want to know what happened to you. So
Okay.
I've already posted a little bit about what happened to you, and I said it in the intro, but we want to hear it from you. What
Yeah.
exactly happened? Tell us
Yeah.
your hero story. And hi to
Yeah.
Petra. She's live as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
Thanks for
hey, Petra.
tuning in. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
I mean, you know the story. With 2020, the pandemic hit in March. I was so disgusted with what the way people were treating me at the job that I'd been on since 2008, and I had been toying with the thought, I would like to retire, but I financially I can't afford to retire. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to retire. In March of 2020, when the pandemic hit, and the company that I worked for sent a message out that all the in-house employees would be working from home except the radio repair guys, the service technicians, and the vehicle technicians. That was the biggest blessing that ever happened for me in my entire lifetime. Now, my father, he's 94 years old and going strong, and he had gifted us money ahead of time from our inheritance to help him to avoid having to pay taxes, which I used. I actually used what my father gifted me to pay off my house. So my car had been paid for in December in 2019. I paid off my house in 2020. I pretty much was debt free by the time March came around. And now here I am working from home, which technically I did anyway because I would go to the office at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, work till 5, come home, work from my at home for the company until 9, 10 o'clock at night. So I was working for them already at home because I couldn't get the work done that I had to do because they wouldn't give me any help in my 8-hour shift. And I even worked on the weekends. So
Wow.
I was dedicated to my employer, and I started my business in 2015, working at part time because my first commitment is my employer. That's who I am. I was a salaried employee. They didn't know how many hours I was working, but I knew the work that had to get done and the time frame it had to get done in and how long it would take me to do it. So I committed to them first and worked my business second. So March, I was ending up at home. So I set up I have this little office that I had been doing my personal business on, doing Facebook Live, so on and so forth. And I set my office up. My daughter came over and helped rearrange my office. And I do have one large monitor and I have 3 computers. So I set that large monitor up, connected it to this other computer. I had my company computer that I was working on because since I was not in the office, I wasn't answering the phones. They had a receptionist that was at home answering the phones, and then she would forward calls to me that were relevant for me. Whereas at the office, I was helping with the phones as well as doing my work. So there was a couple of webinars that I was able to get on, some trainings I was able to connect with. And it was the first time. One of the opportunities that I am in is a pet nutrition company. It was the first time since 2015 that I was able to actually attend a conference for the year because they were doing it virtual because of the pandemic. So there's so many blessings that happened to me during that time. I did take vacation for that conference because it was like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I took 2 days off on vacation. So I was not working for my employer and trying to do something else at the same time. But the other webinars that I was on, I could actually sit here and listen and watch from my major monitor while that computer was running while I was working because my work was as an accountant. It was virtually done through a platform that was web-based platform. And I didn't have, but I answered the phone. I would mute the other stuff, answer the phone, take care of the customer, and move back to my training. So the 2020 pandemic period really opened up the door for me to be able to really truly experience working full time from home, even though I wasn't working full time for myself, but still for an entrepreneur to be a stay at home entrepreneur. And I know, Miriam, you know this quite as well.
Mhm.
Now you have to be the boss. You got to be the one that cracks the whip. You got to be the one that says, should you be doing that or shouldn't you be doing this? Because you have to be self motivated and committed to your business. When it's easy to say, oh, I'll go in the office later today, I can get it done later. No, 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 no. You got to treat it like a real business. So when I get up in the morning and have my coffee, take care of the animals and get their things taken care of, and I walk into my office, it's as if I took the same things that I was doing before, with the exception of I did not have to get in my car, drive to the office, go into the office. In my mind, walking into my office was the same as me driving to the office, and I'm at the office, committed to my business, committed to my clients, committed to my prospects. So it just like so because of the way they were treating me, I had decided, you know what, I got my house paid, my car's paid, thanks for my dad. I'm working my business, I'm getting some new clients, I'm making some extra money. I've got to get out of that company. There's no way that I'm going back into that office. And I had originally told them I was going to retire in 2020, but I had not given them a date. So finally I told them, I said, okay, December 2020. Okay. They still were not listening to me by June. By June, I'm going, have you guys been looking for somebody to replace me? Because I was the only one doing accounts receivable. Nobody in the company knew what I was doing. They had no idea the work that I was actually doing. They wouldn't give me any help. And I think it was July when I contacted the CEO and I said, "What are you doing?" I says, "Have you found someone to replace me yet?" Well, first of all, the owner's daughter was saying, she's not leaving," and the CEO, "You're not leaving." They would not believe I was leaving the company. "I'm out of here. I'm done in December. You guys better be prepared, because if you don't, you're going to screw yourself." So finally, he said, "Well, we're looking at somebody, and I think you're going to like her, and we're talking about bringing her on in July." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "So how are we going to be getting her trained?" Well, because it's all web based, guys, guess what? I was able to actually train her using my favorite tool in the whole wide world, Zoom, where we had Zoom sessions. I recorded the Zoom sessions. I uploaded them to YouTube as an unlisted item, created a playlist for her. So whenever she needed to go back and look at a training I did for her, she has access to all those trainings. And then we would get on one calls, and I would let her show me her screen, so that, because she didn't quite understand what was going on. So she actually got trained without me ever having to walk inside that office ever again. And it
Kudos.
wasn't until after I retired in December of 2020. It was the weekend. It was December 11th was my last day, and that weekend I took all my computer, all my equipment, all my files and everything in, and dropped them off in the CEO's office, left my keys on the desk, and never went back as an employee for that company. And I went by to visit one day, and that's the first time I ever met her
Wow.
face to face, because I would only go in the office over the weekends, and she of course never worked weekends. I mean, she she had the easiest schedule, and I'm thinking, how is this woman doing the work that I was doing when she's hardly ever in the office? And she never worked from home. She worked in the office, because by July they were back partially, some of the employees were back in the office, and except the receptionist. She stayed at home for the rest of the next year, because she has a son that needed a heart transplant when he was 2 years old, so he was at high risk, so he couldn't go to daycare, and they would not let her go, because they're a family business. They're committed to their employees to a certain degree. As long as you benefit them, they're committed to you. But when they're not benefiting you, it's like, I don't care. So that's how I ended up working my business full time in January. Well, because I wanted to retire, my father being 94 years old, living in Minnesota, and I'm in Florida, and the pandemic, I'm thinking, I got to get up there. I haven't seen my dad for 5 years. I need to get up there and spend some time with him. So I had planned on taking my business on the road, be a laptop lifestyle coach. I had clients I was helping and working with, and I got all my tools set, did all my testing, had my hotspot tested, and made sure everything would work out in the rig, so that when I was on the road, I'd still be able to take care of clients and so on and so forth. And I had hired a technician to go through my rig to make sure that everything was going to be top notch, because a 1,200-mile trip in a vehicle that doesn't have good tires, or the lights aren't right, or the heater doesn't work, or the air conditioner doesn't work, I don't need to worry about that when I'm on the road.
Mhm.
So there was one weekend, and I had not yet taken myself on a little trip. I had driven it, but I hadn't actually taken a road trip to go camping by myself to know what it would feel like. And so I had made he had taken a vacation. He went gambling, I guess, up in Biloxi for the weekend. So I made a trip to my daughter, who lives at the beach. It's 65 miles away, and spent 3 days camping in her yard in my rig, making sure everything was working. And Monday morning, when I woke up, it was like, there's something wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it. And I would go in to her house to have coffee with them, because I didn't have a coffee maker on the rig. And I got out of the rig, took the dog for a walk, went in to have my coffee, and I was like, I don't, there's something's wrong. I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint it. Packed up the rig and got ready to head out. And by the time I got home, when I opened the door, I slid out, and it was like I could hardly move. There was no way I could turn my body. There was no way I could bend my body. I think,
Wow.
oh Lord, what on earth is happening? And I was able to get into the rig and empty the refrigerator, get everything turned off. And then I went into the house and sat on the bed, and I go, I've just got to lay down, but it hurts so bad. I'm going, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I just took in a breath, laid down, and go, and the pain was excruciating. And I did that for like 3 days. Finally, I called the chiropractor and I said, I don't know what's going on. Can I get in? And they said, well, did you have a fall? No, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So I went in, he checked me out. He said, I can't physically find anything wrong. Well, he thought maybe I pulled the muscles on the back side of my spine, both sides, because I had a small grandson that was crawling around on the floor. When I got there, I reached down to pick him up. And when I reached to pick him up, my daughter goes, he weighs 20 pounds. I go, oh, okay. So I sat down and reached to pick. We're thinking this motion with this 20-pound weight of me pulling, maybe I pulled some muscles. So that's
Mhm.
what he thought. 3 days later, I was back there again. He says, well, I don't know. I think you need to go see an orthopedic surgeon. So, orthopedic surgeon, I called one, or he referred me to one, and I called them, and they said, well, they didn't take my insurance. I said, okay, I've got to have help. Can I just pay you cash? Well, $400, what it was, I was willing to spend the money just to find out what the heck's going on. They would never call me back. So then I said, are you guys, I said, I'm waiting for an appointment. And they said, well, who's your insurance? And we don't take that. And I go, but if I pay cash, no, he's not going to let you do that. So I'm thinking, what the heck? So I called my insurance company, because this was new insurance company for me. I've always had Blue Cross Blue Shield, but when I left my job, I left my insurance plan. So I had a supplemental plan with Social Security. And they said, well, in order for you to go to an orthopedic surgeon, you have to have a referral from your primary.
Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm going, okay. I saw my primary in May, which was the same month I went down for my camping trip. So I called him and I asked, I said, I need a referral for an orthopedic surgeon. Well, he made me go in. And the minute I went to my chiropractor, and he said, I could see his eyes roll in the back of his head, like, okay, I've heard enough. We're not doing what she wants. We're going to do what I want. So he put me, it was like Wednesday, I think. No, it was Friday that I was in there. So he gave me a shot, which I think was a steroid. He put me on a painkiller and he ordered physical therapy. Now, mind you, I was like this. I could barely sit down to lay down and get in my bed. I could sit in a chair like this, resting my body on my arms on my chair to get comfort. And he wants me to go to therapy. So I played his game. I took his medication. Monday morning, I called him back and I said, "Look, I went into your office to get a referral. I need that referral. Your pain medication has done absolutely nothing." So he did. He gave me the referral. So it wasn't until June that I actually got to an orthopedic surgeon. He took x rays. And at that moment, that time, I had T11 and T10 fractures. That's the thoracic area. You've got your neck area to your shoulders, the rest is thoracic. So I went in on the 23rd of June and the doctor repaired the T11 and the T10. They did a procedure where they insert a needle into the vertebrae, put in bone putty to fill the void, to give it, um, strength. And then I came home on Friday. Saturday, it was like I didn't have hardly any pain. It was like I felt really, really good. And I'm thinking, okay, this is good. Well, I went to go to bed and it was like, I can't sleep. My eyes are wide awake. I'm not tired. What's happening? So I got up, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, Sunday morning. I thought, well, I'll make me some breakfast. So I was making some eggs and I went to turn to go to the refrigerator and I lost my balance and I fell forward. And I was like, oh no, oh brother, well, now what? Called the doctor Monday. They got me in right away. They took another x ray and T9 had fractured. And he thinks what happened was my bones were so bad that when he repaired T11 and T10, it put too much pressure on T9 and it collapsed.
Wow.
So, and the pain was so bad. He wanted to take an x-ray. I mean, not an x, he took an x-ray, but he couldn't quite see what was going on. And the pain was so bad that he wanted me to lay down on his regular x-ray table because most of the time they do the stand-up x-rays. There's no way I could lay down. So he sent me for an MRI. And that was the start. And it continued on until October. By October, I had 5 T11, T10, T9, T5, and L1, which is your lumbar area, the low back. Yeah.
Wow.
And
Great.
then one morning I went and turned to get out of bed and I was sitting there and it's like, oh no, there's something wrong. This was in the lumbar area. And I'm going, but this was before I found out that I had an L1 fracture. And I'm going, oh no. And I already know L4 and L5 don't sit like this, they sit like this. I already knew that. That's been that way for 20 years. And the neurologist says if it gets any more, it could cut off the nerve connection because your spinal cord runs through your vertebrae, and it can cut the circulation off to my legs, and I could end up not being able to walk. But I wasn't having any symptoms in my legs. So I went back in. They did an MRI, or they did an X-ray, and that's where they saw L1 was fractured, but that L5 was slipped, and I already knew that. So they did an MRI, and it had slipped more. So now I have an L5 that sits off on my left side here that gives me this constant, you know, biting, I call it, nerve biting. You have this nerve
Mhm.
biting over in that area. So I know that it's cutting off some of the nerve connections to that area, which only means, if I don't get something done, I could one day end up not being able to walk. But because my bones were so bad, there's no way they would do surgery or anything. So they got me on Evenity. I was on Evenity for 6 months. And again, because of the insurance company, this started in May. I got diagnosed in June. I got to the osteoporosis specialist in August. So you got May, June, July. You got 4 months of all this pain with no comfort. The pain medications they gave me did absolutely nothing. And I was in such a sad state. I was ready to get in my car and drive and just find the nearest bridge and drive off it. That's how bad it was.
Wow.
And it wasn't until the osteoporosis doctor said, yes, you have osteoporosis. This is what I want to do. Now I have to fight with my insurance company because they don't want me to have the Avinity medication, which builds bone faster than Prolia. And so I fought with my insurance company for about 2 weeks saying, look, he's the specialist. He knows what he's talking about. You guys have no idea. Just because I've not been on a osteoporosis prevention medication in the past 70 years doesn't mean what he wants is not what I need. So they finally gave in and let me have my Evinity. And then in January, because I was no longer planning on traveling, I changed my insurance plan to an HMO from a PPO because I don't need to have a doctor out of network. And it was more coverage and it was less out of pocket expenses for me. Well, little did I know that when I did that, that was the dumbest thing I could have ever done. No longer can I have the Avinity because they don't cover it on that plan, regardless, ever. They were courteous and gave me my first shot for January because they didn't want my medical care to be interrupted. I fought them again. So I got a second shot. I fought him again, and this time I had to give in. So I got 6 shots of a 12-shot regimen of the Avinity. I could feel my body healing. I could feel myself getting stronger every month when I had that shot. And I went to the doctor and I said, well, they're saying maybe $1,500 for this shot. Do you think maybe we can get on the Prolia? They said they'll cover it early. And he did. He put me on Prolia early. I have another shot in November, and I am feeling stronger. I am feeling healing. The only problem that I have right now is some of uh, the problems that you have from taking the medication, which is joint inflammation. So now I'm
Mhm.
on something for the joint inflammation. So it's like still a lot of pain, but at least I can move. I mowed my lawn. I did some weed eating. I can walk the dog. I can drive. I can get in and out of my car, and I am mobile again after 15 months. And
Wow.
working my business, I started back working full time in June. But
Awesome.
I know I don't want to take away the shine for Miriam, but working with Miriam, and she had this plan, this program that she's offering. That I thought I had everything in place for myself before I was leaving in May of 2021. Making sure my daughter had the key to my safety deposit box and have my will made out so that if something did happen to me on the road, that my children would be taken care of. And when she came out with this plan, it was like, you know what, Miriam, why didn't you come out with that before I was ready to leave? Because I certainly was not protected. So when my crash and burn of 2021 happened, I was able to take care of my business for a few months. And I had a few clients I was serving and I had activities I was doing. But by October, I really could no longer feel like I could deliver to my clients or my prospects what they deserve and had to step away completely in September from doing my business. And I do a monthly group coachathon, which is an opportunity for anyone that signs up and registers. They can come to that monthly meeting and get coaching. They can get laser coaching. They can get questions answered. They can connect with other entrepreneurs who struggle like they do, get inspired, learn tips and tricks about Facebook, get their questions answered about their direct sales company, what they're doing wrong, why aren't they getting the sales, what's wrong with their copy, what's wrong with their content, as far as trying to create their script for their sales script. They get that for free every month. And I had to stop doing it. But here's the great thing that happened. I have a Facebook Messenger group that I put everybody that registers for the coachathon in so that I can communicate with them periodically throughout the month, checking in, see how they're doing, if there's anything specific they want me to talk about at the next coachathon, and give them the link for the Zoom coachathon without them having to go check their email. And when I announced, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to do the coachathon for the rest of the year because of my health situation. Well, I had ladies in that group say, "Oh, we can do it. We'll do it. We can do it for you. We'll keep it live. We can just go ahead and meet every month and we'll have our discussions and we'll just go, well, what would Coach MJ say about this?" And I thought, isn't that incredible? I thought, what support?
Hmm.
That was like, it just warmed my heart. And I thought, if they find this process so inviting and encouraging and helpful for them to want to keep it alive, that's got to mean something about my choice to serve my audience for free every month. I mean,
Absolutely.
people pay hundreds of dollars to get what they get out of one, and those coaching sessions go as long as we need to.
Hmm.
An hour and a half, 2 hours. Everybody that joins that session gets served. If that's what they come to is be served, they get served. We don't say, well, our time is up. Bye. No, they get taken care of while they're there.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I wasn't able to go back to doing it until January. January, I kicked it back off again, trying to slowly bring myself back into my business with how I was feeling, making sure I was not overdoing it in the course. It's like, I know I can do this. I know I can work 4 hours a day. I got to do this. And then I'd be down again. So I had to finally just face the music and say, no, you can't work 4 hours a day, maybe 2 hours a day, as you get stronger. And then in June, I was feeling so good. I finally went working full time in June. And
Awesome.
that's where I'm at right now is I'm in my third month of coming back. And I still have to, try to take weekends off for just me, but I have to listen to my body and make sure that I'm resting when I need to rest and let it heal. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wow, that's quite a trip, MJ. I mean, thanks for telling it so detailed. But you answered already most of the questions I had prepared for you. So thank you so much for that. But um, I do have one question. So during that downtime, I mean, what has it been? 1.5 years, more or less?
15 months, yeah.
15 months even. Okay. So what would you say was the biggest hurdle or your biggest worry, besides the obvious of not being able to pay your bills? What was your biggest worry in the time you could not work on your business?
Well, I wouldn't say not being able to pay my bills because I left myself with the buffer so that financially I can live.
Okay.
But the only concern I had was losing my business,
Hmm.
losing my tribe, having to start over again, losing the momentum that had been created prior to the May incident. Um, and then just going back and tracking back to my purpose, my intentions, my desire for my audience, and having to care for me. My biggest hurdle was the self care because I'm always wanting to serve, serve, serve. I put me on the shelf and serve, 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 and I love serving. So that was my biggest hurdle is the mind connecting with the you're a failure, you're never ever going to be who you want to be, you're not going to be successful, and that was that depression time between May and October, but it was November. It was Thanksgiving week of November when I finally sat here and I said, okay, enough is enough. Osteoporosis, you have no power over me. Be gone. I will not let you have the power. I am taking my power back. And I
Awesome.
did that in November. And that was the first turn to me actually feeling my body starting to feel stronger and healing.
Wow. Good
And
girl.
and realizing that the business plan that I had been laid out for me was not going to work. I would not be able to use that business plan because physical, the energy I cannot deliver. And so I
Hmm.
had to go back and redesign my business plan and figure out a different way for me to still be a coach, still earn some extra income, and take care of me. So
That is,
that was a real eye opener, and I've learned so much and have come a very, very long way
you
to,
have, yes.
yeah, to that final, okay, this is my plan. This will work. This has room for me to grow my business, get the income, and spend little energy on my business.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
what would you say, MJ, is the most important piece of advice you would give any online business owner when it comes to being prepared for such unexpected situations? Do you have any, I don't know, any good piece of advice you want to give to anybody watching us?
Yeah. Pay attention to your health
That's a good
and
one.
make sure that, for me, I was never sick. I don't get sick. And for this to happen to me, it was like, why did this happen? Where did this come from? There was no sign. Normally, for you to have a fracture, you had to either fall or have a diagnosis of and be on medication. I didn't have any of that. I just woke up one morning and I was in discomfort. And as the day progressed, it got worse and worse and worse because evidently those vertebrae had started to fracture overnight. And as I got up moving, they were fracturing more and more and more and more. I'm down 3.5 inches in height in
Wow.
15 months. Can you imagine that? I was sitting at the other day. I went and I fixed some lunch and I put it on the dining room table and I sat in the chair and I go, the table was up here. It's like,
Oh
are you
no.
kidding?
That's
Okay,
incredible.
okay. You've lost 3.5 inches of height from your waist to your neck. So the table used to be here. It's like,
Wow.
uh-oh, I gotta go get a pillow to sit on so I could eat my dinner.
No, I can't imagine getting shorter with time, but it probably
Well,
happens
you do get
naturally.
shorter
Yeah,
with time.
you
Yeah,
do, but
yeah.
whole 3 inches in such a
Three
short
and a half
period.
inches. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So
Let's just,
I say, make sure that, and I did. I did my annual visits every single year. I did all that, but make sure you're eating healthy. And I think what happened to me was the pandemic.
mm,
Inside, I didn't get the vitamin D I needed because vitamin D you need to use to build bone. I
yes.
wasn't eating real healthy. I did have a health coach after a while who got me back on track with eating healthy. I've lost like 60 some pounds since May of 2020
Wow.
during this situation, between the
Okay.
medications and then getting into a healthy eating plan. Because I was trying to build bone, I had to start eating the calcium rich foods, which are your natural vegetables, your fruits,
Hmm.
getting the right proteins so that you can be building bone.
Yeah. Okay.
And be sure that you have that documentation of and that plan for your business of
Mm,
the what ifs. I
yeah.
had my what ifs and I thought I had it covered. But I know with Miriam's plan, and when she started talking to me about this was before my event. It was like if I had known a little bit more about what her plan entailed, I probably would not have had to step away. My daughter, when she came to live with me for a while, I think it was in 2018, 17. And I had her I hired her to be my VA when I was working full time for somebody else. So during the day, she'd be doing some work for me, getting that momentum, keeping that momentum, getting me in front of new people so I could get new prospects. I could have had her continuing with that process if I had known something like that was going to happen
Hmm.
and have it planned out. But And the other thing is the law of attraction. If I had planned for a disaster, does that mean that I would attract a disaster? So you
Yeah,
have
I
to
guess
go ahead
as
as well.
I say in my boot camp, as long as you don't get into those emotions, you're good. Just stay objective and you because you have to think of different situations, and we go through all through the four different scenarios in my boot camp. But the law of attraction, of course, is very important to keep that in mind and not go into the fear and into those negative emotions. So as long as you keep that out, you're good. You have to have your business backup plan. And thank you, MJ. That's very valuable piece of advice. As an onlinepreneur, as an online business owner, you have to take care of your health. That's the most important asset you have. And of course, have a backup plan in case something unexpected happens. But in retrospective, would you say it happened for a reason?
Yeah,
That's
and I think, speaking about the law of attraction and the fear, I think that subconsciously I was setting myself up for an interruption because I would be thinking about, first of all, I manifested my Class C RV. Okay. I could see the RV I wanted, the interior layout, the tools that I had, the space that I had. I could see me driving it. I could see me using it. And then it showed up in front of me and I made the purchase and it was exactly what I manifested, what I visioned. So in working with it, getting in there, cleaning it up, getting it prepared, I'm thinking, okay, now my trip, I got to plan my trip. I got to do that. I got to make sure that wherever I go by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm somewhere where I can stop. Where am I going to stop? Am I going to reserve a campsite? Am I going to park in a rest area? Because some states will let you park overnight with an RV in a rest area. Some states won't. I got to know which states will let me do that. Um, there's like people say you can park in the Walmart parking lot. And then you hear these horror stories about people getting vandalized in a Walmart parking lot. And
mm,
then you can go to the Cracker Barrel parking lot. You can go to Lowe's. There's different public places that you could park overnight. Some people can park on a street in some towns. So I'm thinking, okay, where am I going to stop this 1,200-mile trip? Only driving, till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and making sure that my generator's working so that I have air conditioning if it's too hot at night or whatever. But the thing that concerned me was what happens if I have a blowout on the road?
mm,
What happens if I have a flat tire? What happens if I have a flat tire out in the middle of nowhere? I don't have any cell reception. How long am I going to have to sit there? And I think that that mental thought interrupted the flow. And the universe was saying, you know what?
you're not
You're
ready.
really not physically
Mm,
or mentally prepared to take a 1,200-mile trip and live in your RV for 8 months.
wow. Yeah, I
Of course,
guess.
once I get to my dad has an electrical connection outside because my brother has an RV. So my dad has an electrical outlet outside where when my brother would come to visit, he could plug in. So I get to my dad's, it's not a problem. I can plug in at my dad's. And I can use the house. I don't have to use my shower. I don't have to use my bathroom, that kind of stuff. And when I've never dumped before. How do I dump? I don't know how to do that. I haven't practiced doing that. I need to do that. So I think subconsciously I was saying, I need somebody to stop me from this nonsense because I'm not going to survive it. I really
Yeah,
believe that.
yeah, that makes
And
sense. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just, things happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't happy with what's happened. We just have to accept it. This is just it. I didn't do
Absolutely.
anything wrong. I didn't do anything right. It just happened, and it's just part of my life. It's going to be part of my story, and it's going to show the world how strong I really am.
Not just the world, but to you yourself as well. I mean, you've grown so much from all this that has happened. And it's just very inspiring, your story. And by the way, we have some messages.
Yeah, I see
Welcome,
that.
welcome, Michael. Welcome, Ritz. We already have Petra. Petra was, well, she's impressed with your story. She says, "What a nightmare being situated in Europe. I can't imagine being denied because of the wrong insurance." So that's actually, yeah, I can relate to that. And we can't imagine being denied healthcare or something our body needs to get well just because we have the wrong insurance. That's bananas. So she also says, "Unbelievable what you went through and how strong you keep on fighting." Yeah. She's a fighter, absolutely. And Michael says he remembers this scary story, your story. You know, I think you were in his group when all that happened to you. And he also says that's the fear many people have. It's completely full. Just because we prepare for an inevitable emotion crisis doesn't mean we are attracting that to us. Okay, that's about the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Manifesting things into our lives occur when we ruminate in those particular negative emotions for long periods of time, not when we allow ourselves to experience that emotion in order to get past the fear and move on to attracting the things we really do want to attract, aka the more positive emotions. Now,
Yeah.
what do you mean with false? Now he sends a message false. What's false? Anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically what
Yeah.
I was saying. You know, if you get into all those negative emotions, I mean, it won't manifest immediately, but you are conjuring up, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I
that
really
and
believe that's what
attracting it.
happened. Because here's the deal. If I had come home from my 3-day trip from the beach, everything was fine, everything was cool, and because I was coming home to get ready to pack up to leave, and I left, what would have happened if this had happened while I was on the road?
Mm, yeah.
So I believe the universe was protecting me, number one, by allowing it to happen while I was here. And it continues to do that for me because my car sat from 2020 from the pandemic out in the yard because I didn't have to go to the office.
Okay.
So I didn't drive my car very much. And then when this hit, I couldn't drive except, the couple times I was able to get myself to the chiropractor. After that, I had to have somebody else take me to my orthopedic surgeon doctor appointments because I could not drive. So my car sat 2021 up until I think it was like maybe November, December when I actually took myself to the doctor. I know one time my daughter was here, so she took me. But then when I could drive, I was like, I got in my car and my car needed a bath. So I went to the car wash and then I went to the drugstore to pick up my pain medication. When I come out, guess what? I had a flat tire
Wow.
on the front of my car, the right front of my car.
Girl,
So,
the
fort-
universe is not
fortunately,
talking to you, it's
well,
shouting at you.
yeah, so fortunately, the tire shop was, like, right next door, so I drive on a flat tire around and go to the tire shop and ask them, would they please they tried putting air in it, and it was like, "No, the air's coming out as fast as I put it in." So I said, "Would you put my spare on for me?" So they put my spare on for me. So then I went out to the tire shop and got me a new tire. They put it on. A month later, I get in the car. My car needed a bath. I went through the car wash, went to the drugstore, picked up my medication, got in my car, backed out, and got ready to go out on the highway. And this guy on my right, he rolled his window down. He says, and I said, "What?" He says, "You got a flat. You're on the rim." And I go, "Oh, you got to be kidding." Another flat tire, same side. This time it's the rear. So I
Wow.
drive across the street, park in the parking lot, call the insurance company to get somebody to come to change out my tire.
Okay.
Fortunately, this happened when I was at the drugstore. So here I'm thinking, okay, don't go to the car wash because there's something at the car wash that's doing something to my tires.
Oh,
Okay. Because it happened after I came out of the car wash that I went to the drugstore and had flat tire 2 times in a row.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay.
So then when the guy pulled the tire off, I said, "Look at the tire. Can you tell me, is there something in it?" He says, you have dry rot. It was all rotted. The tire was rotted because
Oh,
when your car sits and you don't drive it and it doesn't get motion and the air's not getting flowed through and it's sitting on one spot for long periods of time, the sun's beating down on it, the rubber starts to dry out. It's called dry rot. But
I
normally
see.
you can see the dry rot, but it
Hmm.
was on the inside of the tire. It wasn't on the outside. So I couldn't see the dry rot because I checked my tires all the time. The tires were 5 years old, but they didn't have very many miles on them.
Okay.
The tread was good. So when I called the tire guy, I said, "Yeah, I guess I better get 3 tires. I think I've got dry rot." So he did. He put 3. So I got new tires on the car now. And when he pulled those other tires off, he says, "Yes, they were all dry rotted." So, but I'm
So,
just so blessed that my blowouts didn't happen on the road going from my home into town to go to the drugstore. It happened at the drugstore. So, I have to be grateful for that
hmm,
and grateful for the fact that if this physical ailment had happened to me out on the road in my rig,
yeah.
who knows where I would be right now. I have no idea.
Well, you are one lucky bee. So, MJ, we're basically out of time, but
I
I
know.
still want to ask you. People that, it's for anybody watching right now or on the replay. How can they get in touch with you? How can they work with you? What do you offer? I mean, I know you have a workshop coming up in September. So tell us just in short sentences, what's it about and for who is it and how people can register for that.
Yeah, I'm doing a master class. It's email marketing for the network marketer direct sales rep. Okay.
Okay, that's a mouthful.
But it's not it's not something just for the direct sales rep or the network marketer. It's anybody that's an online entrepreneur who is not doing email marketing right now in your business. Come join me on the masterclass and learn why you need to be mastering this skill in your business and implementing it. And I'm having a 2-day boot camp that I will be offering where you will learn how to start setting yourself up doing email marketing without a website. Now, if you have a
Okay.
website, that's great. You're
So
one step ahead of the game.
how do they register for your masterclass? Where do they find you?
Well, I mean, I'd have to send them the link. So and I don't know.
Okay, so how can they contact you?
Just look me up on
Messenger?
Facebook. Margine Christensen, Coach Margine. I have a business page, Coach Margine. You can find me there. Send me a private message. I've
Okay.
got my personal profile, Margine Christensen, and a business page, Margine Christensen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have also commented under this live stream. You
Mm-hmm.
can click on
Okay.
my face and click on my profile, and you can send me a private message and send me a friend request. And when you send me the private message, just say, "Saw you on Miriam's live stream. Let's connect," or "more info," or something, so I know that you're not a spammer.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Friend
important
request.
because I don't know about you, but I get so many bro marketers. Like, I befriend or I friend someone that the profile looks maybe somewhat interesting, and before I can say hi, how are you, where are you from, or what do you do, and they're already trying to sell me something. So that's it's kind of like, oh
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to teach them. That's not the road to be going down at all.
yes,
There is a
please
better way.
keep on teaching that. Okay, so
Yeah,
as we
I
said,
will.
we are out of time. So if you're interested in working with Coach MJ, just hook her up on the. Is that the right way to say it? Or contact her through Messenger on Facebook and reference this show so she knows what it's about. And if you, dear online business owner, want to tell your hero story, if something happened to you, I don't know, you had an accident or you had a severe health issue like MJ has had, and you want to tell your story about how you manage or how you didn't manage, because that's important too. People need to know what are the hurdles you've gone through, and how did you manage to rebuild your business, or manage to keep it running. So let us know. Tell your hero story, and you can also DM me on Messenger if you want to appear on my show as a guest and to tell your story. And I think we're done, unless you want to share anything else with our audience, MJ. Anything?
Well, I
Any
just put the link in the chat for them if they
Oh,
want to
great!
register for my monthly group coachathon. They're very
Awesome.
welcome to register for that as well. That'll get them into my email list and get me connected to them.
Hmm.
And I would put the link to register for the masterclass, but I'm not sure what it is.
You're not
Let's
sure what
see.
the link is? Well, you can post it in the comments later. Don't worry about it. I don't want to keep people too long, because we are all busy and our time is valuable. And
Yes,
thank
definitely.
you so much for sharing your
Thank
story.
you.
I hope it serves other people, the people watching this, to be aware that anything can happen to you at any time, and just be prepared. Prepare your business, protect your business, because it's our baby and it's important to us, and we've invested so much time, sweat and tears and energy and money, so why not protect it with a business backup plan? And if you don't know
Exactly.
how to set up your business backup plan, head to my profile and sign up for the 5-day business backup bootcamp starting on September 12th. It's for free this time for now. And we'll go through how to set up your business backup plan within those 5 days. That's it from me. Thank you so much for
Exactly.
watching.
And I highly recommend you do that. If you're serious about protecting your business, you've got to get on that training.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Definitely.
MJ. Have a great day, everyone. And tune in on Wednesday again. Well, I'll be interviewing or having another guest, another onlinepreneur on my show, and more on that on my profile. I'll do a
Looking
ticker
forward
post.
to it.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, MJ. Have a
Bye,
great day.
everybody. Mwah,
Until
mwah.
next time. Bye
Namaste.
bye.